I just did an entire intro there and wasn't recording, so good job, Ed. 18 months ago I purchased a 2019 Volkswagen Caddy Maxi with the intention of turning it into a micro camper. So it went from this to this. This video is going to be an overview of what I did. So I said 18 months ago, I finished it about 10 months ago, so I've been using it since, not as much as I would have liked to have, but I've been using it since. Yeah, I do hiking, if you look around the channel, I do hiking, do photography, yeah, and I'm based in Ireland, which is a very specific thing for this. So I will chapterize everything. There will be quick overviews the way I wanted it. There will be regulations, rules and all this stuff. We'll kind of go over the build stuff. I'll mention what I found helpful online when I found it online. Then we come to the costing of it. Then we go to VRT, which is a big thing in Ireland. And now that I've had it 10 months, what would I change? Just kind of an overview at the end of it. So that'll be all chapterized at the bottom. So why did I want it? As I mentioned earlier, I do hiking and photography. I go off to West Kerry, up the coast. Places that can be kind of far away, 2.5 hours. I know if you're American watching this, 2.5 hours is only up the road, but for us, for me, it is a long drive. And so a typical hiking day would maybe be drive 2.5 hours to a place, spend 8 hours hiking, drive 2.5 hours home. And that would be one day. Then if you wanted to go somewhere else the second day, you were getting caught for that. So I wanted to be able to rule that out, to give myself more options and to not be completely shattered when I got home after a day out. Because they were long days and the driving home was long. So that was it. Also, I just wanted somewhere comfortable that I could throw myself down in. A bit of a step up from just throwing a mattress in the back of the van. I wanted it to be a proper camper van. I'd been watching lots of stuff on YouTube, watching camper van conversion videos on YouTube, and that's pretty much why I wanted it. There was one time in particular I came off being a ski, one of the mountains in the middle of the peninsula there, and I was wet to the bone, absolutely drenched when I was in the car, and it was just awkward changing out of it, and there's people around and the windows are steaming up and you're drenched wet and it's just fairly rough. Whereas I've been out in this a few times now and it's just comfortable. Close the doors, pull the curtains, change, out, done, bingo. So that's good. Right, so I'm using notes because I never use notes for anything, but there's so much to cover. I didn't want to kind of miss out on something. I probably will, but I'm in a small car park here as well, so that's why I keep looking down there to see if there's anyone coming. Right, so just to clarify, this is Ireland specific. A lot of stuff on YouTube is from the UK and the US and elsewhere. This is I'm based in Ireland, so the Irish laws and regulations apply to this. So the first big one was, after buying this, was insurance. I rang around a few insurance companies asking them, could I just insure this as my only vehicle? And no, they only class this as a leisure vehicle, that I would have had to had a second vehicle in the house, like a car that I could use, and this would be classed as leisure. At this stage I thought I was after screwing up big time, because it was, yeah, I just thought I wouldn't be able to get insured in it. So look, if you have multiple vehicles, cars or whatever in your household, this would be different to you, but this is what I had to do to get the van up to spec and convert it properly in the logbook and everything, so I could get insured and everything was done properly. So that was the insurance worry. They had things like you had to have 1.8 meters height clearance, and which is not an EU directive for what a camper van is, but look, this is what they do. Yeah, also this is I'm not living in this is temporary. This is for like 2 nights on a weekend or 2 or 3 nighs. It allows me to go places and look after it, okay? So I looked around, thought I'd made a mistake, and found Motor Caravan Club in Ireland and contacted them. and they said I could get insurance through their club, but the van would have to be converted properly. It would have to be inspected by their suitably qualified individual, which is an SQI, and it would have to meet all the requirements for an official camper van. And initially I thought I'd made a big mistake, that the official specs were more than what I thought I needed, than I wanted. But as it turns out, it was probably the best thing I did, getting in contact with them, because the van knows at a spec that I wouldn't have initially wanted. And everyone I dealt with in that, I think there was 5 people overall through the course of dealing with that club. They were all absolutely fantastic. There was the 2 in Karen and Bill in the Motor Caravan Club, got put onto Michael, got put onto Tony, and the help was absolutely unreal, phenomenal. Like, now, I had to do it all myself, bar 1 or 2 things that I had to get help with, and that had to be done by officially, but I'll mention them later on. So they were brilliant. And look, I'm a member of the club now. I'm not kissing their arse or anything. That's not how I work, and they would. That's definitely not how they work. So, but look, they were very good anyway. Right, so that's the van overview, why I wanted it and everything. So just what constitutes a camper van? Again, I'm going to read these properly now because I don't want to get them wrong. So there's EU legislation. I will leave links to the EU thing, which nobody needs to read, to be honest. There's a link to the Irish Revenue site. There's a link to the Road Safety Authority of Revenue of Ireland, and there's a link to VRT.ie. They all have kind of the same outlines, but anyway, what constitutes a camper van? It needs seats and a table. The table can be removable. It needs storage facilities. It needs sleeping accommodation, which can be converted from seats, and it needs a cooking area. To be part of the Motor Caravan Club, they had an extra specification, which was 2 hobs, two rings in the hob, which turned out to be fine and has been fantastic. So on the revenue side, they said so that's overall, that's 4 points. On the revenue side, it says this equipment must be securely fitted to living compartment. Tables that can be removed easily are accessible. So it's not a case of you put in your units, your bed, one weekend, you take it out the following weekend, you use it as a work van. Like, this is a camper van. It has to be changed in the logbook as a camper van. Primarily, a camper van should provide mobile living accommodation where a person of average height can move around comfortably while standing. It's tight, but I can move around comfortably. I can even, if I'm very warmed up, I can go from the front seat through here into the back part. So the living accommodation area should allow for a comfortable living environment for a person or persons for an extended period. So the reason I'm mentioning the revenue stuff here is when you're going around getting it officially converted in logbooks and all this stuff, you have to pay VRT as well, and you have to go through revenue. So this is their stipulations here. It would generally require the use of the whole of the rear compartment of a vehicle behind the driver's position. The living area must provide occupants with ready access internally to cooking, eating, sleeping and related facilities. It's expected that the living accommodation in the rear would have side windows, which we do, where by means of, this is important, where cooking is by means of gas, a gas installer certificate should also be available. The gas was installed by a registered gas installer here, because I had camping stoves and like jet boils or pocket rockets and all that, and that's what I had initially thought I was going to use, but that wouldn't have passed. That wouldn't have been officially converted then as a camper van. So motor caravans that are purpose built fulfill the requirement for mobile living accommodation. Sorry, there's sheep in the field around me here. Yeah, so when converting a vehicle to a motor caravan, you must ensure that the conversions are sufficient to fulfill these requirements. This is another one then, I'm not really sure about this, because it's not that I'm not sure, I didn't do it. I had to do a certain conversion this way, and that's how it worked. So they have a point here, vehicles that are day vans and do not qualify as motor caravans if the modifications do not sufficiently alter the interior of the rear compartment. Likewise, vehicles are considered day vans if they only modify the boot storage area to provide exterior access to cooking facilities. Revenue will not accept the candidate in which the living facilities are reasonably accessible only from the outside. So as you'll be looking around, you'll see lots of them that have pull-out yokes in the back, and the cooking would slide out the back, and that's what they're mentioning there. Like, when I'm in here and all the doors are closed, I can still cook inside here, if there's bad weather and stuff. When I say cook now, I mean boil water and heat up a toasted sandwich or something. You could do everything else. It's a fantastic stove. We'll get into it later on. Yeah, so that's that part of it. We'll get to do a look around now in a minute. I'm just going over the initial bits and pieces that I wanted to cover, to explain why I had to go down certain routes and where we got. So, as I mentioned, this isn't a build video. I'm not going to be, thank God, because it took me 8 months to bloody do it. Between waiting for stuff and gaps and the whole lot would have been, it was like going from black and white to colour. And I made loads of mistakes as well, and I'll go into some of them as well. And hopefully that might save people time. So yeah, it's not a build video. I will leave links below to videos I found useful for certain things, like the carpeting and the insulation and all that. So I'll leave links to them. This is my first time ever doing anything like this. I'd say even if I made a box beforehand, it was a stretch. So this was a fairly big undertaking, okay? And it yeah, it was an interesting journey, so it was. So yeah, so look, take that into consideration. I am not a professional. If you need professionals, contact them. There's loads of conversion people around the place, companies around the place that will do this, and they'll do it to a way higher spec. But what I've ended up here with, I'm absolutely delighted with, and the fact I did it as well just makes it even sweeter. So the kind of build, where we're going, hopefully I'll be able to throw in snippets of the kind of build stage when I'm going through this, okay? We'll figure it out. So firstly, obviously clean it. It was in very good nick anyway, so cleaning it was fine. It was no problem at all. After that then, one thing, I started this in the winter, in cold weather, and it was, everyone kind of does it kind of in the winter, but I had my van outside. So honestly, if you breathed it once in the winter in this, everything was condensation. So that was a bit of a pain in the arse. It's nice to do it over the winter to get it ready for summer, but I'd nearly do it in summer if I was to do it again. So the first thing then was you can buy all the packs. There's different companies that provide all the packs around the place. The crowd I dealt with the absolute most and was Happiturf Conversions. They're based in Abbeyfield in Limerick, and they're brilliant. Again, I knew nothing about any of this when I started, and yeah, I've called into them a few times since and chatting away, and there's fierce nice people as well. It's good to be able to talk to people instead of just ordering blind online and all this crack. Like, they have a website and everything. I'll leave links to that. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but just they were great to deal with, and I didn't get all the things from them, but I'll point out the things I didn't get. But like, as it turned out, as time went on and I got to know them a bit better, they can order stuff for you now. If they don't have it in stock, that they're in that whole system of getting the stuff. So the first thing anyway is Soundeadening Insulation. So I bought a kit. It was the Dodo mat. When you go online and you start watching videos, you'll always see Dodo mat. So that consisted of, if I can remember properly, Soundeadening, which is like a thick rubbery silver backed, you stick it on. You stick it on, and where I stuck it on now, some people Soundeaden the entire part, the entire van. The only place where I stuck it on was the external shells, where there was only one shell. So the side panels, the roof, I didn't put Soundeadening on the floor. Well, not that Soundeadening on the floor. So on the wheel arches were totally covered. So take off the side panels on the door, stick it onto there. Wherever it was reasonable to get to, that was done. But it was only on the single shell, the single skin, the single metal. Like any of the pillars or anything in the cab, I didn't, or in the back, I didn't put Soundeadening in that. Then part of the next bundle is, you get, what is it? Thermoliner insulation. So this is it. It's a, I think a 6mm foam, but insulated. So that went on everything. Helps with Soundeadening a bit, helps with insulation. That went on everything. That went on the roof, that went on the side panels, that went on the floor. That went on the floor, that went everywhere pretty much to help with insulation. Yeah, so that was, I think, a 10 metre roll. Again, they kind of come in packs depending on the size of your van. For lots of the places for the joining and stuff, as part of this kit, you get silver tape, insulation tape. It was the most frustrating tape I've ever used in my life. You couldn't peel it off the roll. When you did, it kind of split. When you got it off then, and you put on a lint, unless it was going on a pure rigid hard surface, it would split. So I ended up going to like a hardware store and getting stronger tape. Like you'll get that one as part of the kit, keep it, you'll use it somewhere. I think I ended up using most of it on the rigid parts. But I went to a local hardware store for a roll, and look, that was too big. I got that one as well. But tis a lot tougher tape. So yeah, that was important. The next thing then was insulation. So again, as part of this kit, you get 35mm EcoWave insulation. I think what it was. Look, it was a bit thinner than 35, I'd say. But it was very good for some parts. So for the roof, it was very good for above the roof paneling and on the thing. It fit there perfectly, and I could put it in other places. But for lots of the pillars and for the door panels and this type of thing, I had to buy another roll of, again, just from B&Q. It was dial insulation, like attic insulation or whatever, but made from plastic bottles. So that was packed in absolutely everywhere. So there's pillars along there, there's pillars up the side here, in the door panels, the back door, that was wedged in everywhere and taped up afterwards. All the holes that were in the van, I kind of covered them up with plastic and that silver tape as well. That's where I used it actually. And that took care of that. I think I have different pictures. Hopefully I have different pictures going along. Yeah, so to stick on that EcoWave, you get glue as part of it as well. And also, I have a little box here. This yoke for putting on the Soundeadening. It's a lot better than rubbing it with your finger. It's just an old roller. I'd recommend getting that. So that's that. I have a little box here with all the stuff thrown into it. So that was the base. That was the very first thing that was done. One thing I would say, kind of before I did anything else, I had come across a video on YouTube, and the guy just mentioned, I hadn't took on his build, but the guy mentioned, I think it was Bushman in Blue, I'll leave a link below, about Rivnuts. And what they do is they create anchor points in the van where there's already existing holes. So I'll show you here. So this is the type of tool it is. So pretty much, I hope no I don't break this, but we'll just pretend this is the metal sheet, okay? Yeah, that's too thick now. But anyway, you get the idea. So what that does, so what ends up here then, look, this is a bit thicker than the sheet metal that was on the van, because it would have clamped on the back of it. But what you end up is creating M6 points everywhere. So a lot of the holes around the place, and it turned out, I'll show you now in a minute, it turned out very well because it gave me anchor points and prevented me screwing into panels that I didn't know what was behind them, and it allowed me to use kind of existing holes. Some of the holes I had to increase the size on. I think they were 8mm up to 9mm to get these things to fit in. But yeah, they worked out brilliant, because even I'll show you here. It's only a small thing, but see the my hiking poles. They've bolts here for holding on Velcro. That's the only reason you could do that, is because of the Rivnuts. Because there's no way I'd have drilled in there at all. Absolutely no way, because you wouldn't know, it's such a narrow area, but the Rivnuts worked out the business there, so that was worth getting. And like, I've ones put in I'll never use, but I don't care, it was worth it, you know. So that was just useful, and you kind of do that before you do anything else, because they get covered over. The flooring I put in was 12mm plywood. I had to cut it in two because I couldn't manage doing the whole van with one sheet, putting it in with myself and taking it out and cutting the corners for the wheel arches and all that. So will that cause me trouble in the future? I'm hoping not. The only place it could cause is where the flooring maybe gets worn where the join is. But look, for now it's not an issue at all. Then finally, the door panels, the back panels there. Yeah, it's just door panels, and the back panels on the doors, they're made of like card, like the stuff you get at the back of IKEA shelves. I replaced all them with plywood because I just didn't want cardboard in it. I just wanted it to be, so that was 3mm plywood, and it worked out in the back door. I'll show you the back door now as well in a minute, and that worked out fairly well for that. One final thing, that you really need to get is this thing. It's I think there's a Dodo panel popper. But what it is so in these all these panels, this is the panel I was on about with the card. It just removes this. Hopefully it's showing up. It just removes it, you wedge them out. And it also works for the poppers here. It also works for them. Because those poppers are on all the doors, the back doors. There's panels over the wheel arches. They're there as well. So yeah, get one of them. It'll save you messing around. Then one final thing with that, if I'm on the right page. Jeez man, this is going on. Final thing then to finish off the main shell was carpeting. I got 4A stretch carpeting. You see it in every YouTube video. A lot of procrastination at the start, but once that was done, once the carpeting was done, then it started looking like a van conversion. It was kind of cool. I did it for the other side first, and that was when that happened. I was like, fuck it, we're getting somewhere now, you know. So yeah, for the carpeting, yeah, I'd post a link to a guy. There was one or two guys in particular were very good for that. It worked out good. Just you'd have the initial fear of it, but it worked out pretty okay. When you carpet the side panels on the doors, like the OEM, the original, these original clips are exact for they're the exact length you need to put the side panels on and off. But when you carpet the side panels, it becomes a lot thicker. The panel becomes a lot thicker, and these ones don't work anymore. So I ended up getting, again, I saw it on that guy from the UK, Fair Tree clips. I had to get them from the UK because I tried a few shops around here and they didn't have them. And once I had them, then all the everything in relation to panels that are being carpeted, that was brilliant. I had tried a few other cheap ones off Amazon, and they were just pure rubbish. So I'd recommend, if you're going to get them, get these type of ones. They were very good. I had to get a side window because that was part of the requirement for revenue and all that crack. So again, from watching YouTube, there was one photographer, Henry Turner. He did a van conversion a couple of years ago, and he did a follow-up one a while after he built his and answered a few questions. So I asked him, I said, what's the one thing you would change? And he said the side window. He got a full solid side window, which is a lot cheaper, because he said if he's cooking in the van, it's just handy to be able to open the side window just to leave out the smoke or whatever. I couldn't source one of the windows for a Caddy Maxi in the Republic, so look, there might be. I'm not in that world. This is my first time. So the guys in Happiturf told me about a guy in the north, Glassmaster, Northern Ireland, and they had one. So I got the one with the sliding panel on it. Yeah, and I can see where your man was coming from already. Even when I am cooking and stuff or burning things, I can open the window and it works the business. So that's pretty good. That worked out well. And I had to get a guy to install that for me, because I'd been watching videos online, and even the good fellas online, they were unsure doing this, and there was no way. When I saw the guy Greg doing it, he did such a fabulous job in it. I was so happy I didn't try it myself, because it's just, you need the experience. Look, I'm sure loads of people get it done themselves. I just went to this guy, and he was a legend, like, so. It absolutely was fantastic. Actually, there was one other thing I should have mentioned, was the bulkhead at the back of this. When I got the van, obviously there was a bulkhead on it, and it was a plastic bulkhead. When I cut out it's going to be kind of hard to show you because it's not there, you know. So I cut out the main part of it, but I did keep the side parts. So you can see here the bulkhead. that's where it would have been coming out. It would have been coming out here and going around the entire back of the van. So I cut out the main part of it, but I kept the side pillars. Like that's part of the bulkhead all down the side here, and just carpeted it. So that worked out well. So yeah, that's one thing I should have mentioned about the bulkhead. Yeah, so look, there's been a lot of talking there. I just wanted to give an overview kind of what I wanted, what I had to do, kind of how I did it, and just to let you know the kind of thought process behind it. So we'll give a look at the van here now, and I'll explain a few things to you that I was mentioning there a minute ago. So it's kind of easier to point out all the things here where we are with this. Again, I'm still trying to use my notes, so I already had to run up once I opened the back door, the wind blew them out the van. Anyway, so right, I was mentioning, I'm just going to kind of go through roughly again about the build. Those roof panels could come off. That was insulated and everything. Yeah, so this here was what is a single skin. These are the pillars, the pillar here and there's a pillar down there. So that would have got sound deadening. The pillars here and the pillar up here wouldn't have got sound deadening. It got sound deadening. It got two of those insulation, the foamy insulation things I was showing you as well were put on here. But there was no insulation put on the double skins then. But the pillars here were packed with the plastic bottle insulation. So that's kind of what was done there. I mentioned Rivnuts in one of the things. So as it turns out, so I put in Rivnuts. There's Rivnuts there. There was a one there, up along here. I know I've more down the back pillar here. There's one there. There's another one there. So if I needed them for anything, I don't know what, but if I needed them, they'd be there anyway. And so it is the same up along here. And this is stuck on timber. So I was able to just attach the timber to the Rivnuts, into the bolts. That's why I'm saying the benefit of the Rivnuts. The flooring I'm using is just lino, kind of vinyl. It was easy. I didn't want to be having clicky flooring or any of this crack. There's a bit of insulation properties on it, so that works for that. So you have the foam, the 12mm of ply, and then the vinyl, whatever 5 or 6mm it is, and it has been easy to clean and everything. So I was mentioning this is a bit of a side note. You can hear the birds. Just to show you where I am doing this. So with the exception of some farm feed there, the car park I'm in is lovely. There's a bit of a river here as well. I don't know if you can hear it. Coming off the mountain. Yeah, sorry, that's a bit of a distraction. Just wanted to show where I am in case you're wondering what the hell is with all the bird sound. Yeah, so that was paneling. So I suppose that's the carpeting, that's the paneling. Like I can show you here. When I was on about the changing the panels, the cards, the plywood, it allowed me to connect in these yokes for holding on the table, and allowed me to put on these connections as well. The card wouldn't have held the screws and that, so that's pretty cool. So I suppose the next step then is furniture. The furniture in the van is kitchen unit and bed. Yeah, I made all of that now as well. I'll go into it very briefly what I used. So you can see here, I think they're 3x1 or something. The panels for the bed. You would see a lot of ones had sliding out bits and pieces. You can slide it out and make it wider and everything. I did it. I spent ages doing it and I haven't used it once. So if you're only ever just going to be using it for yourself, I just wouldn't bother with it, to be honest. Yeah, so look, you can see there, it kind of pulls out every second yoke of it. And if you wanted to make it wider, it will come out to the full length here, but I haven't used it. I had a few things I wanted on the bed. I wanted it to be that when I lay down flat, that it would take my full weight, that I wouldn't be falling over the side of it. It had to be as low as I could keep it, so I could give myself as much headroom as possible. It's still tight, but it's okay. I'm getting on okay with it. And also, I have a portable toilet in there. I'll show you in a minute. That's a small portable toilet, so you can see there the clearance is pretty tight, but it works. It does the business. So you can see again, that's only used in emergencies. Didn't pretty, but look, it's functional. Yeah, so my height requirements for that were, I wanted to give myself as much room in the top, but I still needed to fit in the toilet in the bottom. It's lengthways, so it's long enough for me to lie in it straight. I'm a side sleeper anyway, long enough for me to lie in it straight. That's just a cool box, a nice box. So that fits in, that was taken into account there for the width of it. So when the door closes, it's not banging off anything. I have to move the seat forward an inch, but I can slide in a solar panel in there as well. That's why there's a gap there. I can slide in a solar panel that's on an old tripod. The wind is blowing around now a small bit. Yeah, I'm happy enough. Oh, final thing, the mattress is an IKEA mattress. Well, two things. It's an IKEA foam mattress. I just bought a cheap one and cut it to length, and I also cut out a bit of an angle there to get it to fit around the pillar a small bit better as well. So that's worked out. And final thing, underneath the mattress is this yoke. It's anti-slip mat, again from IKEA. It's kind of tacky feeling, but the net result is the mattress hasn't fallen off once. The mattress has stayed on the bed the whole time, so it's been very good. So yeah, that just took a bit of making. That was enjoyable. But again, like I said, I wouldn't bother, if you're just doing it for yourself, I wouldn't bother making the bits that pop out. Just keep it simple. So the kitchen unit initially was a bit stressful because I just didn't know what I was at. And as it turned out, it worked out pretty well in the end. I'd been thinking about 18mm ply, 12mm ply. I didn't know I was going to join it together. I didn't know I was going to do corners. But when I got this, it's aluminium edge profile. It takes 15mm ply, so that's on the edges. That made all the difference. It kept everything rigid. I'm only using it in two corners, the two corners of it. Kept everything rigid, and that made me then think I wanted 15mm ply. So you can see the edge unit that here, and we have it in the back as well here. They didn't have 15mm timber plywood anywhere near me. I know when you go on to some of the sites, they have like real fancy nice timber with nice patterns, and it looks like every camper van you see. I think there's Moorland, but it's very expensive, so I didn't want to be going on that route. But again, I spent a bit of time looking around, but I came across the shop. They're in Tralee, and I think they have a shop in Dublin, Noyex. They had 15mm poplar ply, lightweight poplar ply. So once I got that, then they come in 8x4 sheets, 8 by 4 foot sheets at €80 a sheet. And I did mess up the first one, like I've done many times in this. So I used that. So I've used that for the shelf, all the three side panels, and the countertop. It worked out very well. It was very easy to work with as well. So that's the plywood. Like the Moorland stuff I mentioned there, it's better quality and it takes knocks a bit better. On the one here that I have, I'm already after dinging it a few times, and look, it's not bad. I don't mind, and I painted it the colour I want as well, which is just a kind of a blue colour. Yeah, just that allowed me to do that. So once I got that 15mm plied in, we were sorted. We could make the frame. It was up in the garage on a table for ages, just working it and putting in the water, putting in the little power bank I have and all that, and I still managed to get it wrong. but it worked out very well. This is the kitchen unit, pretty much. This sink and hob, again, I got off the the guys at Happiturf. You can get left and right ones. I just got done with the sink there, up onto the gas at the back. I thought in my head that's how it worked, that's how to be the best way. So then another, yeah, so that's that. I had to get the table, that's a table rail. This thing here, I'll show you that in a minute. You can see the old scratch there, but look, it's fine. Yeah, so that's my gas and hob. This came in, this is all secure, totally secure. I had to put a bit of bracing at the back there, again using the same Rivnuts that I was mentioning earlier. I had to put a bracing underneath the countertop, running along the back, which just worked out at the right height. So that was, this is pure solid now, she's going nowhere. In the regulations, when I said it had to be stationary and fixed, that's as fixed as you're going to get if you're not taking this out. So yeah, that's using that. When I was putting the shelves into the unit here, these grey yokes, them things, I had to get proper hinges as well. But the things for the shelves and the thing holding on the countertop to the side walls are these yokes. I would get them because I messed around with 2 or 3 kind of cheaper versions of them, and they were a nightmare like. So holding on your they're very rigid. The right angle is very good in them, so once you get a straight cut in the timber, and that's it. And they have all things to cover them up as well, but you don't see them anyway. And that's it. So I would recommend paying a bit extra to get the good ones, because they did make a big difference in helping keeping things kept together. Look, if you're a carpenter and you do this stuff yourself, you might have other ways, but for someone who is coming from not knowing anything, it was the business, it really was. So that's that. This is my power unit. It's an EcoFlow Rivermax 2, I think. It's got 2 plugs in it. USB 12 volt. The 12 volt on the right hand side there, I use for, tis an ignition for the hobs and for the pump, for the water pump. The black cable there is coming around to this, which I think I've used once. And that's only the USB port once. And the white one there is, look, I had the lights in the background there are Philips Hue lights. I had a spare strip at home, so I said instead of buying some other 12 volt one, which would be easier to run, I'd do that. So that's what those lights are there. So that's there. So that's the control unit for it. So then I just have bag for cables, food box, just with utensils and coffee and food, whatever. That fits in there. And one thing here that worked out fairly well, to take out the unit to charge it, I have to take off the door. But the plus side of that means if it moves, it doesn't come out the door. It's never going to fall out of the unit, which is a bit of a weird one, but it worked out fairly well. These door yokes, I had tried 2 or 3 different types of ones. These were really the only ones that worked properly. So then you come in here, you have bought a cheap old rubbish bin off Amazon, but that's worked out fairly well. I had to get the guys in Happiturf ordered these 2 water containers then with the pump, so they can be easily taken in and taken out. And that's the sink here and everything. I'll turn it on there and show you. So, oh. So there we go. They're 2 10-litre containers, 10 litre waste, 10 litre drinking, but you're never going to fill them up both at the same time. And then the gas. So you turn it on. So there we have, the gas is running there. Again, like with the door open, I wouldn't normally know I'd have the door closed and stuff, and the draft isn't causing problems. That's it. That's the simplest thing. I've got a few nets, storage nets. That work out pretty well, the two of them. And the two of them there as well. You can see I painted, I had to widen the holes here last night because a new USB cable I have wouldn't fit through it. So that's why the paint is a bit off around it. Doesn't matter. So that's the kitchen unit. There's a division. There's a division obviously at the top part of it. There's a supporting kind of wall division there, and there's another one here to keep the gas separate from the rest of the unit as well. So this thing is the gas. That's camping gas 907. So that gas had to be installed by a registered gas installer legally, and to be honest, there's no way I'd have done it. When I saw what he was doing, because you have to attach it to the stove, the hob, with copper piping and everything, and that needs to be done by a professional. You're not taking your chance of that because you don't want to suffocate in the back, and you don't want it to be nice to not blow the van up as well, you know. So that had to be done by a registered gas installer. So that was and he was brilliant, because the weekend I met him, he did that. And while I had the kitchen unit made, I wouldn't have been 100% sure on attaching it to the body of the van, but he did, because he's done a few of them. He knew what he was at, so he helped secure it in. We spent a good time at it, and then it was really done very well. Like it was just fantastic. So that's the gas. Delighted with it. Like I said, initially I thought it was too much, that I wouldn't use it, that it was too much for what I wanted. But I'm so happy now to have that, to have it stationary, to have it always there. It's just everything is very easy, you know. The final thing then from the build was the curtains. Now, the curtains I got were Vanlife curtains, and the rigmarole I had getting them, because I think they're UK, but Brexit kind of screwed everything up. So they came from Germany, and the curtains are fantastic. No, they're in and everything. But initially I was sent the wrong curtains. They wouldn't send out new ones until I sent them back, so that was 3 weeks wasted or whatever. It was a pain. Then when they sent out the replacements, the curtains are right, no fittings came with it. So I got on to them about that, and that took ages over sending them. So it wasn't a great experience, I'll be honest. But the curtains themselves, now that they're in, and once I got it done, they're fantastic. So the curtains on the two back doors, curtains on the side door. The cab curtains here, they're on a rail up along here. So you can pull them, and they have nice tie backs and everything there. So you can pull them, and they don't leave light through. Look, there is a small bit of light seepage up in the top, but I don't mind about that, to be honest. And they're very good. And it's the same with I'll show you there at the back. Yeah, excuse my painting. So yeah, they're the same there. Phone. No need to apologise. So they have clips there, and they're very good. They're good quality material. The rails are good. So they're Vanlife. One thing I would mention about them, I see lots of people online, and look, people giving out and stuff saying that the screws would break. Yeah, kind of, yeah. You have to pilot hole everything. I think there's a 2.5 mil pilot hole on everything. And then there's certain parts of the van. So here is like a kind of a double shell, a double skin. So when you go inside the first one, you then hit the second one. And look, you can drill through it with the metal drill bits. But when you're putting in the screws, then if anything goes sideways, or if the thread is off, it will you might shear one. So just be very, very careful. What I ended up doing for some of the screws was cutting them just a small bit, so as they would go through the metal skin and not have like 10 mil of screw doing nothing on the other side of it. So once I did that, took my time. If I felt any resistance, I stopped. So that was it. And then the rails are the business as well. Had to bend them, had to create a jig to bend them, but they were done. So like that, they're very good. I have to say I'm very impressed with them. Like that was a bit of rigmarole getting them, but they worked out very well. And the back cabs, when you've it pulled, both of them pulled, closed, and when you're driving, it really does feel like you're separated from the back in a good way. It's nice. I'm just trying to think now. I think I'm after getting to the end of my notes. The final kind of thing in the van then was, oh no, actually not the final thing, second last thing was the fan. So you can see it turning away there. I don't know, does it do anything, to be honest? So I just had to drill a hole in the roof, and it had a stick yoke there as well for coming on. When you are driving around, it's flying, like, so it is pulling air out. But some nights I've been in it, and it hasn't been windy, and I've woken up with condensation then, but look at this, I'm not too bothered about that. They've been comfortable nights and everything, and a quick wipe with a towel in, and there's only condensation on the windows. So a quick wipe with the towel in and it's fine, you know. So one final thing that I did forget to mention, but as part of the regulations that I mentioned it earlier, was even regulations, you have to have that sticker as regulations as well. But the table, so I mentioned there, this rail is a table rail. So I can show you here, this way, put on the door there. So that's classed as a table. Now you can see it, like, it does work, and I can put it anywhere I want up along as well. I think I've used it once, just the way things have worked out, but it is handy. Like, I mean, even on a day like today, if you're sitting down here cooking or whatever, it's a table. And sometimes lying in bed, right, you might throw the phone open it, or it's a kind of a bedside kind of table nearly. So that's handy. Again, there, that's pretty good. To tidy it again, you have to have it for regulations. So, but again, I'm glad everything that was enforced by regulations, I'm kind of glad of, because they make sense and they have worked out very well, you know. One final thing I would say, just the way things have worked out at night and stuff. The lights in the back, I was trying to figure out how to disconnect them or take them out of the fuses and everything. And what I ended up doing was to just disconnect them, because every time you lock the van, the back lights in the van is on for like half an hour. It's a pain in the arse. But handy when you're doing work, but when you want them to be dark, it's just a bit awkward, you know. So I disconnected them, and the cab is dark now, so when I open doors, nothing lightens up. But I have a small light here, such that when I come in the door at night, I can just reach in and turn it on, and it pulls off and everything. It's never fallen off when I've been driving, so that's very handy. So in a small space like this at night, there's a lot of light off it. Also at night, initially you'd have the hue strip on, and it gives lots of light. But when you're at night, you can turn it down very low. I also got a few smaller kind of light pucks. They just throw a bit of light. You can throw one of them up on the counter there, and it will it'll give enough light for the room just for night time, you know. That was it. Right, so after that tour, I think I'll just go over the kind of costs, the breakdown of everything, kind of very, very briefly, and I'll explain about the final process of getting it converted, getting the conversion official, and paying VRT and all that crack. So the materials there, like I said, I got a lot of the big items, like the insulation pack, the kitchen pack, the carpet and all that stuff from Happiturf that I mentioned earlier. So the Soundeadening Insulation, all that pack, was about $380. I spent the plywood on the flooring and the plywood on the side there behind the kitchen. I didn't mention it, but you'd have seen it in the videos. It's 5mm ply. It's 5mm ply. The vinyl flooring, which I ended up getting enough for 2 vans worth, was €160. The timber for the bed was about €40. Actually, the reason I kept just because I wanted to know anyway. But the reason I had to keep all the prices of everything and the receipts of everything was when you're submitting it to revenue, you need to be able to document what you spent on the van. You need to be able to show how much materials went into it. So this is why I have everything. And I'm not intentionally leaving stuff out. I'm not adding in stuff I didn't use, this type of thing. The costing I gave to revenue was what was put into the van. Structurally, a little box or a little container, these little nets, they didn't matter, but structurally for the van. So yeah, the carpet lining, so the 4-way stretch carpet that's on all the inside of the back was 151 euros. I'm not sure if that was with the glue or not. I think that, I don't know. I think it came part of the kit, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, but the way that carpet is all attached is with glue. You'll see it in the videos I connect to this anyway. So the most expensive thing by a mile in it was the hob and the sink. That comes with all the connections, all the plumbing connections. It comes with the gas box at the end. It comes with the copper piping, everything. The vent for, because in that black box, you have to cut a hole through the flooring, a drop vent, so that if gas does leak, it just drops out the bottom of it. So that all comes as part of a kit. And that was $7.15 at the time. Look, I'm presuming with the way things are going at the moment, everything is after getting more expensive. But that's what that cost in. The timber that I use for the kitchen, the 15mm ply, they were 80 euros a sheet. The water gallons, the 2 10-litre water gallons for the fresh water and the wastewater came to 57. The side window was expensive. That ended up being 272 euros because if I just got an ordinary solid window, I think it was like £80, so maybe 90 or 100 euros. But because I got the sliding window, it was more expensive. I'm happy I paid it, but that is something you don't need to. But look, if you're doing it, I did it the way I wanted to. The fan on the roof, it's a Flettner slimline ventilator. It's powerless, it works by the wind. So I'm not running 12 volt wires. I could, to be honest, I could have run a 12 volt wire up there. I might still be able to if I need to in the future, but for now it's fine. It does vent because there's never a smell inside in the back, you know, there's never, it is ventilating the whole time. But when you're driving, the thing is flying around the place. The push button catches, so I have two doors, the 2 units under the bed. There were 65 euros for 6 of them. The curtains for the windows was 111 euros, I think, for the kit. So like I said, it was a bit of a rigmarole getting all the stuff, but they're very good. I couldn't recommend them enough now. Because initially what I had for this curtain was I had a bit of Qualplex stuck in a cheap set of curtains I had lying around at home, and you could see the white and all. They were a disaster. I think of a picture of them. But like, it did the job at the start, but these are such a level up that it's absolutely worth it, in my opinion anyway. Also, I had to get a carbon monoxide alarm for the gas. That was 31 euros. The edge profiling that I put on the corners here was 18 euros. The camping gas, the first time you buy it, you have to get the bottle and the gas. So the next time, no, I have to go and get a refill. I'm just getting the gas, so that will be cheaper. But that whole thing was 120 euros. And the paint was 60 euros a paint or whatever. I don't know how the fuck I spent 60 euros on paint, but look, that's what I put down anyway. So the whole lot came to about 2.5 grand for the materials in it. I'm not counting the toilet in that because that's something you don't have to have by regulations and stuff. I can't even remember how much it cost. The cool box isn't part of it. That was separate. The mattress is separate. Again, it's not structural to the camper van itself. Like, you could take the mattress out and put in a bed sheet and that would be fine. But the kitchen unit and the bed and everything stays, so they're fully in like that. That's the materials, about 2.5 grand. Right. So the final step in all this then was I had to go through revenue. I had to get it tested, to get it taxed and everything. So after it was converted, once I had everything kind of done, The first thing I did then was I had to get it road tested, NCT, CVRT. So I rang them up, made the appointment, and I asked your man at the time, I said, could he test it as a camper van? I said I was in the process of, I'm trying to remember this up, I only got so far in the notes. I'm in the process of doing a conversion, and he said, yeah, absolutely, no problem at all. So then my insurance covered me when I was going for that. Yeah, it passed the test. I had to have a diagnostic printout to get the VIN number on it, which I had to go back and get, but that was fine anyway. Passed the test. I then had to get an SQI, the suitably qualified individual, to sign off on it. So there's all official paperwork there as well. I had to get him to sign off on it to see that everything was in order, everything was done up to standard. And like I mentioned earlier, he deals with the Motor Caravan Club of Ireland as well. So that was done. There was a load of paperwork in that he filled in. Then I had to send it off to revenue. What I had to send off to revenue was all the receipts, the gas cert, the NCT, the CVRT test cert, the receipts, the SQI material, all that. That went off to revenue. And then not the big worry about it is revenue then. I think it took 2 or 3 weeks, but everyone then is always concerned about the VRT, because when you're doing a conversion, you have to pay VRT on it. So that's vehicle registration tax. And you see certain things online and people don't, again, this is my experience of it. There can be numbers thrown out and stuff. So what it ended up was, and again, like, I didn't try and pull the wool over anyone's eyes with any of this. I was straight up with all of it, because apparently I guess I'll be making a video on it. The value of the van, I said, was 20 grand. Again, sent it all off up to them. And revenue then look at I think the open market street price or something. They make a determination on what your van is worth. And you'd hear some horror stories and they're going way too high and everything. But as it turned out, and then you pay 13% on what they believe your van is worth. And it ended up being 13% of that. So the VRT I had to pay on that was I think it was about €2,500, which was kind of what I was hoping for, what I was expecting. Hopefully I'd be hoping for zero. What I was expecting, so that worked out okay. So look, from my experience, what I did to this van and how it worked out, again, it's a small micro camper. I'm presuming if you do a transporter or bigger, like the cost of materials goes into it is more and all that cost is more again. So that's how it turned. Then that came back to me. They gave me the cert. I had to send off the logbook to Shannon, I think it was, and then I contacted the tax office. And I wanted to obviously contact it, but you see some things where they say you have to go up to the tax office. I didn't. When I contacted your man, he said, yeah, it's on the system as a camper van already. He said, this is your arrears, whatever, 20 much is a month or whatever, and this is what you're paying now. So that was it. In a nutshell, that was how it worked out. Yeah, it was a bit stressful, but just take your time and make sure your paperwork is in order and send that off. I don't know, I can't remember the exact specifics of it now, but in my memory, that's what it worked out. So at the end of it all, you get your logbook back. It says camper van on it. There's another code, which I can't remember, but it says camper van in the logbook. And once you have that, then you're golden. And the nice thing about that, so I mentioned the VRT of 2,500 there, €2,500. So motor tax, I was paying €710. I didn't have, because I didn't have it that long, but it would have cost €710 a year on motor tax to tax. It's insane. I don't know why they're doing it. Everybody that has a van knows the story with it. But it would have cost €710 a year to tax it, to the 2-litre diesel, to tax it. And that's what it cost. But no, because it's a motor caravan, official on the logbook and everything, it's €102 a year. So I'm saving the bones of €600 a year on tax alone. So the way I'm writing off the VRT is, that's 4 years of motor tax. Yeah, so that's the cost. That's the cost of it. That's that. I was delighted with the way the whole thing worked. I found it very stressful at the time, but I was delighted with how it all worked out, and I'm delighted at what it's after ending up at. That's it. Oh, one thing, if you're driving up, or when you're going through toll bridges as well, it's also cheaper than vans. It's an ordinary car, like 180 or whatever. because when I've gone up the west coast a few times, the toll bridge at Limerick isn't tied into the main system, so I have to show them my tax document, my tax cert, and I have a copy of the logbook as well, saying, look, it is a motor caravan, then you get the cheaper rate, but the rest of them are okay. It's like one of those things, you know. So yeah, that's the costing of it. Yeah, the one thing I did not include was the registered gas installer and the SQI both have to be paid. I'm not including that because that's dependent on who you know. Different rates. I'm not. Look, that's for what I got. It was reasonable for the overall package. It was fine. It wasn't extortion or anything. It was worth the money. Again, to get where I needed to get. So that was that. Have I covered everything there? No. I think I have. Yeah, so that's it. That's the van. Hopefully now that will be some use to somebody, because like I said, there were certain things to Ireland that are kind of not specific, but I just wanted to do it right, because there was a lot of information. I had made assumptions on certain things and they were wrong. Like one of them, for example, was initially I had them reversed. I had the bed on the left, and my reasoning for that was just like I said, this is my only vehicle. So when I'd be shopping or whatever, I wanted to be able to put the bags in behind the driver's seat in this side. So I wanted it that way. I wanted it the exact opposite way. But I was chatting to the SQI and he was giving me advice, and he asked me to decide that the exhaust was on. So the exhaust is on that side. So because of the vent, the dropout down from the gas, if I wanted to have it there, I'd have had to shield the exhaust, which makes complete sense. And that would have been way too much, that would have been a whole lot of extra work on the outside. Again, for someone who's never done anything like this, that was too much effort. So then I just parked that idea and I went with the layout it is now, which I'm absolutely delighted with it. Like, when you're trying to work out all your heights and your dimensions and everything, one of the rules was you had to have a minimum of 500 mil clearance from here to the ceiling. So I think I'm at 530 or something. But the plus side of that was I was able to determine the height of everything else then. Off that, I knew I had to have a certain clearance, and that worked out very well. So that was it. The final thing then that personally I wanted, when I was sitting on the bed, I wanted to be able to sit down with my feet straight, and for them not that I didn't have to put them at an angle when I was sitting at the stove. So that helped with making dimensions as well. So that's how I kept it out that far. Yeah, then small things. This yoke, just to open the door, cut a slot. You see lots of people pulling them out over the top. Cut a slot to make it go in, so that'll open the door from the inside. Bought one of them. Didn't have to buy that, but bought it because I wanted it just to be safe. Like I said, the cool box, get about 2 or 3 days out of it. One thing I would point out as well. So as you're looking in here, so over the kitchen there's plywood. There's plywood, and on the other side of it there's nothing. So we'll just drop that. So on the other side of it there's nothing. I didn't want plywood on both sides because, like, when it's such a small space, I didn't want it to be kind of confining in more. So I left the plywood off that, and as it turned out, because of the height of the bed, when I'm lying in the bed now, I have the extra kind of 2 inches there from my elbows to move on to, and it's after working out very well. I didn't plan it, but it worked out very well. The light strip, you see the black there, that's timber, and that's attached to the side panel using those Rivnuts I was mentioning a few minutes ago. Is there anything else I would change? Again, I'm not sure on the fan. I'm kind of out. It seems to be doing okay, but we'll have to see how as we go on along with it. Other small little things like that edging there, that's at the back as well. Like I said, the toilet, I enclosed that so it is there. If you're going around a very bad bend, the ice deck falls off, but it's been okay so far. We haven't had any accidents. Made a box, just slides in tidy there. So for cooking, the only cooking utensils I have here are the Stanley cook pot, just for boiling up water if you want to cook beans or whatever in it. I did buy, and this is from a Thomas Heaton video. I see him with on his camper yoke, little kettle. To be honest, I haven't used them much. So I've probably used just a pot for it's just handier. Put a little kettle, a little Ridge Monkey kettle, and then a thing that's been very, very handy, which was again off the Thomas Heaton video. I see him doing it. Because Ridge Monkey. I'm thinking, what the hell, Ed? So I just moved to the back of the van there. It was handier. So I just mentioned there the Ridge Monkey. All it is I don't know, a ceramic kind of metal aluminium kind of yoke, but when you're cooking, put it on there, the gas, and flip it, like I said, for toasted sandwich or pizza pockets or anything like that. Has been just pure handy, absolutely. You're not messing around with plates or frying pans or anything. It's small enough, but there's a cool yoke, you know. So yeah, that's been for the kitchen. I could get away with just the pot, the Stanley pot, and this yoke, and it'll sort me for most of it. Like the cool box, I get about 2 or 3 days out of. I can get it. You can put milk in it, and it's still cool 3 days later. It is a good box. No, I do not have a diesel heater on it. And of the times I've been out, there's only one night I thought, oh, it's a bit cold, and that was actually last week. But that's when I had the doors open late at night and I was doing the Astro. I just wasn't thinking straight. But every other time has been fine. I have a light sheet for the summer, and in the winter I have a heavier quilt. And it seems to do the light sheet because it is so well insulated. Well, I think it's so well insulated. It holds up fairly well when I'm inside it, and it's such a small space. That's it. I don't think there's anything else. I'll leave links to everything, well, as much as I can put together in it. I'll leave links to that. Like that now, I suppose, just to give the disclaimer at the very end, if you've got this far, first of all, thanks. But it's, I'm not an expert on this at all. This was my first time trying anything like this. It worked out well. I did find some parts of it very stressful, right? When I thought I'd made a mistake. So look, that was it. But overall, it was good. But just to be clear, this is what I had to do in my specific case. If you have different types of cars in the family, and I don't know anything about that, so just keep that in mind. Always check yourself, check with your insurance company first. Yeah, I would check with the insurance company. Although, to be honest, if I had checked with the insurance companies before I bought the van, I probably wouldn't have bought the van. So there is that element in it as well. Is there anything else? Yeah, keep that in mind. I am not a professional. This is just what I did. I went through everything I could that I could remember, as much as I could in the steps. Probably a bit long-winded, some of it, but if there's something you're considering doing, these are things I found useful. Now I just need to use it a bit more. I haven't used it enough at all, but hopefully now in the summer. Yeah, if you have any questions, leave them below. I will leave links to everything I can inside, down below as well. Again, where I got the gear, like I said, most of it was from Happiturf. I will leave links to the few other places where I got the stuff that I didn't find anywhere else. Kind of bits and pieces. And that's it. I hope this was some use to you, because I know when I started, lots of this information was kind of there, but it wasn't in one place. So it was a good learning experience. Will I do one again? Probably not. I don't think so. Yeah, but it was good, and happy with how it's after turning out. Right, look, if you're after getting this far, thanks very much. I hope it's some use to you, and we'll talk to you later on. Good luck. What is that? So look here. So this is where I've been sitting doing this. Wasn't interrupted or nothing. It's after working out very well. I was thinking last night, where the hell will I go and do this? I didn't want to do it at home, you know. So I just thought I've done this walk once up here, and it's after working out very well. But some view in that. And then when I was mentioning the sheep a few minutes ago, you can see all the sheep over there. There was little lambs running around the place and everything. Now, I really hope this is after recording. Oh man, the nerves will be kicking in. And this is up the other way then. This is what you want to be looking at. In this Ballysitter, that's the back of Mullock Vale. We've done this walk once. So there we are. Take it easy. We'll talk to you later on. Good luck.